Welcome to Downshift. My name is Matt, and this is one of the coolest cars to come out of Europe. This is Audi's latest iteration of their RS7. It is the fire-breathing V8 twin-turbo super sedan, dripping with style and presence. And thanks to our friends at Audi Milwaukee, today we're going to cover the best and the rest and see just how it stacks up to its closest competition. Let's get into it. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about is price, and interestingly, usually the Audis are the most affordable of the big German three, but that is very much not the case with this RS7. It is more expensive than the M5 and the E63 AMG, at least for 2023, while they all have turbo V8s and pricing data available to them. The M5 is due for a new generation featuring a hybridized V8, and the next E63 we'll see will pack a 4-cylinder. But as they sit currently, this car is a 2023. 2024s start at $128,000. 2023 M5 starts at $110,000. And the 2023 E63 AMG starts at about $114,000, which is shocking to see the Audi so much more than the others. But in truth, the RS7 is more expensive than its own kin, too. The RS6 starts at $126,000, $2,000 less. And the eTron GT, which is similar power and performance, starts at about $106,000. I mean, what a strange world this RS7 is living in. And the next thing we'll talk about is relative performance, especially when you consider it has the least power of all the cars that we just mentioned. I mean, technically it has the same power as its twin sister, the RS6, but still. The RS7 and RS6 twins are making 591 horsepower and about the same number in torque. And they're getting to 60 just a shade over 3.5 seconds. The AMG is up over 600 horsepower, and so is the M5, even in non-competition trim. And both of those are closer to 3 seconds flat than 0 to 60 in 3.5. So both are a bit more dynamic as well, they're louder, and they're just more unhinged from the full-bore performance version. So if you're into that sort of thing, you know. I mean, real-world on-road performance, you probably won't notice a huge difference, honestly. But you get these out onto a road course, and the Audis will start to show some chinks in the armor. And also, usually, I can forgive some of this because the Audis are cheaper, but they're not here. And then another classic Audi personality trait, the overt subtlety, specifically about the interior. It's just that pretty much every Audi interior looks the same, from the A6, A7, A8, Q7, Q8, etc. And the RS versions get some carbon fiber and contrasted diamond stitching, but if you were judging by the interior, it wouldn't be immediately apparent that you're in an almost 600 horsepower mega cruiser. And sure, you have an RS button on your steering wheel, and you've got a flat bottom, it says RS down here as well, but it is just very subtle and gimmick-free. But I mean, hey, some people like that. And this is kind of a companion point to what we just talked about, but it's less about the interior design and more specifically about the little tech and details and features that you get in here. You do get ambient light here, but it's not crazy by any means. And in your infotainment system, you don't have any crazy tech gimmicks or anything to totally alter the performance of the car. I mean, BMW is packing that drift mode, and Mercedes has something very similar. What it ends up in is just you get everything that you need in here and nothing that you don't. It just doesn't necessarily lend itself to the car feeling incredibly special while you're just sitting here or playing with the screens. But this is an RS car, so you should be driving it. Which means, let's talk about some of the good things going on here. And the first thing is the Audi thing, and it's the thing that I love most. It's the duality of the personality. The M car and the AMG do not ease back and just become luxury cars, at least not in the way that this does here. They're kind of always nudging you to drive harder, which could be a problem for points on your license. The RS7, with its air suspension, relaxes way better and just becomes an A7 when you want it to. I talked about this a lot during my time with the Audi S8 review that we did a while ago, but it's the thing that I love about these fast Audis. They just feel so much more realistic for people who are honest with themselves about what kind of driving they will be doing. You're probably not taking your car to the track, and the streets here are pretty bumpy, and you bought a luxury car, so it should be a nice riding car, right? And Audi catches a lot of crap for this, but it's something I truly love about the RS experience. They're fast, they're loud, they're fun, but they can also do the other thing better than the other two. And then cargo and practicality, and this is what I have to believe is what you're paying for with the price premium, the mega trunk. As mentioned, this brings liftback practicality, or hatchback depending on who you are. Trunk space here is enormous, and I'm a huge fan of this. The first gen RS7 was one of my favorite cars, and if you need more trunk space, Audi will sell you their RS6 Avant with a full wagon roofline. This is honestly a huge benefit and something that turns your sleek super sedan into an SUV rivaling family hauler. At this point, I want to kind of rewind a little bit and address some of the things we've said earlier. This is still a fun car to drive. I know we've talked a lot about how this car isn't as fast or crazy as the M cars, and it's not as unhinged as an AMG, and it does the comfort thing better than both of them. And I think that starts to paint this car in a fairly unfair light. I don't say these things to suggest that the RS7 isn't fun. It very much is. I love the instant power and torque you get from the V8 here. The 8-speed transmission here is very quick for not being a DCT, and it makes awesome sounds on shift. I love the upshift, brrr, and then the downshift is just one nice crack. And those of you that know me know that I love sound and snap above all things on a driving experience. So this RS7 fires on all cylinders for me. The chassis is large and it is heavy, but the adaptive air suspension keeps things nice and tidy and refreshingly neutral. I'm not really getting the classic Audi understeer from this car that I would have in previous years or the previous generation. It handles beautifully. Sure, it may not be as wild or crazy or pitch you sideways as easily as the AMG and the M, but you can still have a blast in this car. Now, usually you'd see the tapered roofline from the exterior design of the car and think, dude, I'm 6'1", I'm not gonna fit in that. But yet, here I am. I've got loads of knee room, and I've got even space for my head with my hat on and my nub. You've got excellent leathers back here with a quilted stitching pattern, and you have heated seats back here, and your seatbelt receivers even light up. Again, the RS6 will offer more headroom since it doesn't taper the roofline here, but even at 6'1", with my hat on and my little peak, I can fit back here just fine. And it wouldn't be an Audi video without talking about quality, fit, and finish. This point will also be very familiar to Audi videos. It's the same as the SQ7, the RSQ8, and the RS6, etc. You've got excellent build in here, you've got exquisite materials from your leathers to your alloys, and you have exposed open pore carbon fiber, which is really cool and has a nice texture. I don't really see that anywhere else. It's very similar to all the other Audi interiors that we've reviewed lately, which means it's really good. And this next point I wanted to give its own category, even though we've talked it to death a bit, but I wanted to talk about the engine specifically. And that's because the engine that you get here is the same engine that you get in supercar royalty. You could say things like the Porsche Panamera Turbo gets this engine, the Cayenne Turbo gets this engine, the Lamborghini Urus gets this engine, the Bentley Bentayga, and of course Audi's own RS6, S8, SQ7, RSQ8, you know, etc. And I guess my point is that each of those engines is in a mildly different state of tune, and ultimately I know that you can boost power on these things pretty reliably. So while from the factory it may have marginally less, like 10, 20 less horsepower than an M or an AMG, it can handle a lot more if you want to throw some at it. Oh, and of course, it sounds incredible. And just like the ride being true to a luxury car, so are all the touches and features that you get in here for comfort and convenience. Of course, you have heated and cooled seats. You do have massage seats up here as well, which is fantastic, and you get heated rear seats, which we talked about earlier. And I'm going to say it again, the dimpled leather on the steering wheel, the quilting and contrasted stitching on the seats, all exquisite. And you get big screens for things like your virtual cockpit and your upper infotainment and media and your lower climate and comfort screen. I mean, at no point is it ever lost on me the fact that I am in a true and bespoke luxury product. So that is the best and the rest of the Audi RS7, and I have to say I'm a little hot and cold on this car. In a vacuum, I absolutely love it. It's got style, speed, drama, but when you start to compare it against other things in its segment, it is more expensive for less performance. That said, the new E63 being a 4-cylinder disqualifies it for me, and some people will have feelings about the new M5 getting a hybrid. So I guess if it were me and my money, I'd end up with an RS6 Avant. But thanks to our friends at Audi Milwaukee for making this video possible, and we'll see you in the next one.